The American president trying to strong-arm Europe this Monday night. His newest threats to get his way and get Greenland.
We see this as unnecessary and irresponsible.
How Europe could retaliate. Separation anxiety, how closely linked the Alberta independence campaign is to the MAGA movement.
Canada is in the vital national security interest of the United States.
Taking on the tabloids, the unlawful behavior Prince Harry and other public figures are accusing two British newspapers of. Plus, party time for Dolly Parton, the country music queen's milestone.
'Cause it's birthday time.
And why she's joining forces with some other singing superstars.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. European leaders are trying to determine how to respond to the American president's threat to punish them with tariffs if they continue to object to him taking over Greenland. Donald Trump insisted today he will 100% follow through on that threat and again declined to rule out using military force to seize control of Greenland. He's trying to force NATO allies to give him what he wants, and Germany's foreign minister said today they will not be blackmailed. In another extraordinary move, Trump is blaming Norway for not awarding him the Nobel Peace Prize, and as a result says he no longer feels obliged to think only of peace. There is a lot to take in here. Jackson Proskow begins our coverage tonight.
As Greenlanders protest Donald Trump's annexation threats, Europe is grappling with how to respond to a full-blown crisis.
We see this as unnecessary and irresponsible. It's unnecessary because we are part of the same alliance.
Days of emergency meetings have focused on the American president's aggression toward his own allies, after a weekend that saw Trump threaten stiff tariffs against European nations unless Denmark capitulates and agrees to sell the Arctic island to the U.S.
Alliances endure because they're built on respect and partnership, not pressure.
After Norway's prime minister asked for a phone call with Trump to cool things down, he replied with a stunning communique, telling the Norwegian leader, "Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace." He went on to question what gives Denmark a right of ownership over Greenland and demanded complete and total control of the island.
I can't think of anybody in history that should get the Nobel Prize more than me.
Trump's long-standing obsession with the Nobel Peace Prize is no secret. Just last week, Venezuela's exiled opposition leader gave him her medal. The consolation prize was apparently not enough.
Our priority is to engage, not escalate.
Now European leaders are weighing how to respond and will hold an emergency meeting Thursday. They may invoke the EU's anti-coercion instrument against the United States, a so-called trade bazooka that could bar American businesses from Europe.
I think it would be very unwise.
Europe fears Trump is a man who can't be bargained with or even reasoned with, as he remains transfixed on prizes that are beyond his reach. Responding to Trump, the Norwegian prime minister says he made it clear the Nobel Peace Prize is awarded by an independent committee, not the government of Norway. At the same time, European leaders say they're pressing Trump for cooperation, but it's not clear if he's inclined to listen. Donna?
Okay, Jackson Proskow in Washington, thanks. 3 top American Catholic clerics are denouncing American foreign policy. The archbishops of Chicago, Washington, and Newark put out a statement today saying, in part, in 2026, the United States has entered into the most profound and searing debate about the moral foundation for America's actions in the world since the end of the Cold War. The events in Venezuela, Ukraine, and Greenland have raised basic questions about the use of military force and the meaning of peace, and the building of just and sustainable peace, so crucial to humanity's well-being now and in the future, is being reduced to partisan categories that encourage polarization and destructive policies. Trump's threats to seize Greenland and punish those who stand in his way will loom large at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. World leaders, including Canada's Prime Minister and the U.S. President, will be there, along with CEOs from around the world. The theme of this year's meeting is a spirit of dialogue. But as disruptor-in-chief, it's pretty clear Trump is there not to listen, but to tell the world what he wants. Our chief political correspondent, David Aiken, is traveling with the Prime Minister. David.
Well, Donna, Mark Carney has been to Davos as an investor, as a central banker, but of course, this is the first time at the World Economic Forum for him as a prime minister. Now, Carney will follow Prime Ministers Justin Trudeau and Stephen Harper, who also came to Davos during their time in office. Trudeau and Harper, when they were here, spoke about economics and investments. And certainly Carney, when he planned his trip, he too wanted to talk about how Canada is a safe and reliable place for foreign investment. But really, the agenda has been overtaken by Greenland. There are 65 prime ministers, presidents, and premiers coming to Davos this year. There's 600 or 700 CEOs, but the big dog in the room really is U.S. President Donald Trump. He'll be arriving in Davos early Tuesday morning, leading the biggest American delegation ever to come to Davos. And really, he'll be there to have a series of one-on-ones. We're not sure if he'll be talking to Mark Carney in a one-on-one, but we did ask Carney when we were in Qatar on Sunday what he would say to Donald Trump if Trump and Carney run into each other. And Carney says he'll tell Trump that Canada, when it comes to Greenland, stands with that country, with Denmark, with Europe, and with its NATO allies.
And there's a full commitment, not surprisingly, as is appropriate, of NATO partners to the security of Greenland. That's the right way to address this.
Canada has a very small military presence right now in Greenland, and Carney was asked, will you send more Canadian troops there to join troops that are arriving now from NATO countries? And Carney really won't give an answer. In fact, he's very vague when he's asked what are the specific steps Canada will take to protect Greenland's integrity. All Carney will say is he is very concerned about the situation, particularly about escalating tensions between the United States and its European and NATO allies. Donna.
Okay, David Aiken in Quarton, Switzerland, thank you. As all of that is playing out on the world stage, a campaign is underway in Alberta to separate from Canada. Events to gather signatures for a referendum on leaving Canada are drawing big crowds. Supporters say they want an independent state. They don't want to join the United States, but they have ties to the Trump administration, and critics warn they are playing into the hands of President Trump. Heather Yourex-West reports.
And sign in that box right there.
In an Edmonton park Saturday, those wanting to sign a petition calling for a referendum on Alberta independence faced a long wait.
It doesn't really matter if it's 10 hours, it's worth it to me.
This has nothing to do with the U.S. You know, it has nothing to do with joining the U.S., it has nothing to do with Trump. This has to do with Alberta getting its due at long last.
Still, petition proponents have made no secret they've been keeping U.S. officials up to date.
I think as some people know, we've been going to regular meetings in the United States with members of the Trump administration at a very senior level, and we've had very frank conversations about them.
We're going there as, an educational society and actually trying to get educated on seeing how they feel about Alberta independence.
If there's any long plan that Trump has for putting influence and pressure on Canada, if not claiming parts of Canada, this will be the year for it.
After repeatedly suggesting Canada should become America's 51st state publicly, NBC News is now reporting the U.S. president is again criticizing Canada in private for its security shortcomings in the Arctic. The president's former chief strategist calling Canada vital to U.S. national security on his podcast over the weekend.
This is why I think Alberta and this succession movement, they're sitting there going, it's not just about economics, it's not about tax policy. Canada is rapidly changing. 25% of Canada's, you just heard Tomlinson say, 25% of Canada's population is foreign born.
The question here is, what do we do if the Trump administration interferes in the referendum?
Russia is suspected to have interfered in the Brexit referendum debate in the hope of influencing the results. As an Alberta vote looks increasingly certain, experts say CSIS and the RCMP should keep a careful watch. Heather Yourex-West, Global News, Calgary.
Ontario's premier says he is ticked off over the deal Prime Minister Carney made to allow 49,000 Chinese-made electric vehicles into Canada at a vastly reduced tariff.
I have concerns that they're undercutting our hard-working auto workers.
Ford says he found out about the deal just hours before it was announced, and he's skeptical about the notion of Chinese companies building more affordable EVs in Canada. Ford says the deal will impact Canadian auto workers and the supply chains that support them, and believes Chinese EVs will be a cybersecurity problem.
I'm concerned about cybersecurity and the threat of China. That's what I'm concerned about. So we're going to always make sure that We think twice before we have countries come in here, and we get nothing back. We get absolutely, Ontarians get nothing back but a threat of jobs in the auto sector.
Ford is also calling on the federal government to eliminate its EV mandate. Canada's annual inflation rose in December, climbing to 2.4% compared to the same time last year. Stats Canada says it was mainly due to the end of the federal government's tax holiday that lasted from mid-December 2024 to mid-February of 2025. The cost of restaurant meals was a big factor, rising 8.5% year over year, though gas prices dropped nearly 14% compared to the same period last year. In Nova Scotia, thousands of people were left without power this morning thanks to a big snowstorm. Schools were closed and road conditions treacherous. It is the latest blast of winter. People in parts of Ontario are enduring another blizzard of their own. Heidi Petracek looks at how people caught in it are coping.
Heavy, wet snow made for slow going early Monday morning and triggered a long list of school closures and cancellations throughout Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island.
No school!
It was the first snow day in Halifax this year and the first significant snowfall.
Happy to do it. The kids are excited to have a snow day.
In southern Ontario, this is snow day number 6 out of 11 days of school in Kingston. The frigid temperatures also kept street outreach workers busy.
We provide blankets and snacks and hand warmers and moral support.
Further east, a messy mix of snow, freezing rain, and strong wind made travel treacherous in western and central Newfoundland and Labrador. A tractor-trailer crash closed part of the Trans-Canada Highway near Clarenville.
By mid-afternoon, main roadways had been cleared and people were getting on the go. But in Nova Scotia, the biggest problem, more than 61,000 Nova Scotia Power customers were still without electricity.
That kept generators humming as temperatures hovered just below zero.
This is a long time. This is the longest we've had power out for a long time.
In total across the province, 140,000 people lost power.
The utility asked for patience.
In this event, the heavy, wet snow has stuck to trees and it's caused them to come into contact with our power lines. That, combined with road conditions, has made restoration more complex.
With 300 crew members working on it, the hope is to have lights on for most by Monday night, although the utility acknowledged some may have to wait until Tuesday. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Halifax.
A Canadian doctor is warning the healthcare systems in Toronto and Vancouver may not be ready for the FIFA World Cup this summer. As Karen Lieberman reports, hospitals in the two host cities are already operating at or above capacity and could be overwhelmed by a big event.
With Toronto and Vancouver getting set to co-host 2026 World Cup games, doctors in both cities are gearing up for a busier than usual summer trauma season with the backdrop of an already overburdened healthcare system.
Our hospitals do not have surge capacity. And even outside of influenza season, like we are currently experiencing right now, our hospitals function at fairly well 100% occupancy.
With more than 300,000 visitors expected, on top of other annual mass events like Toronto's Pride Festival, second largest in the world, emergency physician Dr. Catherine Varner warns in this editorial in the Canadian Medical Association Journal, systems cannot absorb more load when they're already operating at or above capacity without compromising care.
That's when we're seeing patients in the waiting room. That's when patients can have bad outcomes that occur in the waiting room, as we've seen in this current influenza season across Canada.
Mass gatherings present a range of public risks, so Ontario's health agency conducted a hazard identification and risk assessment. It found more visitors would bring increased illness, but planning, surveillance, and response should minimize the risk of large outbreaks and public health burden.
So we actually prepare by having two code orange simulations. So code orange is when we expect a mass gathering or a mass casualty of patients to come to the ED.
Foodborne illness, COVID-19, and measles are being flagged as moderate health risks for the World Cup Games. But there is also the possibility of mass casualty events.
You can imagine if there was a large event in Toronto like there was during the van attack. Again, on top of that, it really strains local resources. But that's a singular, very bad day. Now, if there was, multiple events over the city during a World Cup event, that would definitely strain the healthcare system.
Both Toronto and Vancouver have wastewater surveillance systems set up to detect infectious disease outbreaks during and after the World Cup. Karen Lieberman, Global News, Toronto.
Spain's railway tragedy. Coming up, how a high-speed train collided with another that went off the rails. The death toll in that crash of two high-speed trains in Spain has risen to at least 40, and more than 120 passengers are injured. Early Sunday evening, the cars at the end of one train derailed and were hit by a second train going in the opposite direction. Nathaniel Dove explains how it happened and what clues investigators are looking for.
Rescue workers scramble to help passengers. Some don't wait. Roughly 400 people were on board the two trains, according to the state-owned railway. Authorities say most were Spanish, likely returning to or from Madrid after the weekend. This woman survived, but says she could see others dying and couldn't do anything. This woman helped pull people from the wreckage. She tells reporters she saw severed limbs and heard a child calling for his mother, which she'll never forget. Investigators determined the crash happened near Cordoba, about 300 kilometers south of Madrid. A train from Madrid was heading south, the other was going north to the capital. At roughly 7:45 p.m. local time, the back three carriages from the northbound train came off the tracks. Within 20 seconds, the other train hit those derailed carriages. The misery is compounded by mystery. The Spanish government says the train that derailed was only 3 years old, was last inspected just days ago, and the newly renovated tracks are examined by machine every night. And both trains were going under the speed limit. The head of Spain's National Engineering Association says the crash should have been impossible. The Spanish Prime Minister promising absolute transparency in the investigation. He also announced 3 days of mourning. Nathaniel Dove, Global News.
In Pakistan's largest city, a massive fire at a shopping mall has killed at least 21 people. It's the city's biggest fire in over a decade. It started late Saturday and raged for more than 24 hours before it was finally put out. Firefighters are working to find victims. More than 60 people are missing. It's not yet known what caused the fire. Trial against the tabloids ahead. What Prince Harry and a group of high-profile claimants allege journalists did to get their personal information. Public and media fascination with celebrities is nothing new, but the tactics some tabloid newspapers have used is under intense scrutiny. A group of British VIPs are taking some of Britain's biggest newspapers to court, accusing them of breaking laws and violating privacy. Prince Harry is among them, and for the royal, this is personal. As Vincent McAviney explains.
Driving into the Royal Courts of Justice once more, Prince Harry has spent most of his visits to London here fighting the press, rather than with his own family since stepping down as a frontline royal. The Duke of Sussex arrived alone for the start of his latest trial, this time against the publisher of the Daily Mail and Mail on Sunday, Britain's biggest newspapers. Also attending court proceedings, the actresses Elizabeth Hurley and Sadie Frost, the former wife of actor Jude Law. The claimant group, which also includes Elton John and his Canadian husband David Furnish, is accusing the paper's journalists of using private investigators and of pretending to be someone else in order to illegally obtain sensitive information like health and financial records. Taking media giants all the way to court is rare in Britain, especially for members of the royal family. But for Harry, who has long blamed the death of his mother, Princess Diana, on the tabloids, it's turned into something of a personal crusade.
He seems to be motivated by a lot more than money. And he's shown that he's not so interested in simply being compensated for his losses. He's actually trying to, along with many of the other complainants, affect change in the newspapers.
Prince Harry is not expected to see his father, King Charles, nor his estranged brother, Prince William, while in the UK. Neither have supported his actions against various media organisations. The Mail's publishers have denied all wrongdoing and will be given the opportunity to respond to the claims in the coming weeks. Harry is set to take the stand to give evidence on Thursday. Vincent McAviney, Global News, London.
You know, we're living in troubled and uncertain times.
Yeah, we sure are.
But we can't let the darkness win.
It's time to wake up.
Next, as she celebrates her birthday, Dolly Parton teams up with some vocal powerhouses, all for a good cause. Italian fashion designer Valentino Garavani has died at the age of 93. His foundation announced the news, saying he passed away today at his Roman residence, surrounded by loved ones. Known by his first name, Valentino was famous for his elegant designs and his signature Valentino red. He dressed Hollywood actresses for the red carpet, as well as royals and other prominent women, including Jackie Kennedy Onassis. Valentino retired in 2008 after more than 45 years, one of the longest careers in fashion design. The Queen of Country Music is celebrating a milestone. Dolly Parton is turning 80, and in true Dolly fashion, she made a point of giving back.
I can see the light of a clear blue morning.
Ahead of her birthday, Parton released a new version of her 1977 classic, Light of a Clear Blue Morning, this time with fellow music stars Queen Latifah, Lainey Wilson, Reba McEntire, and Miley Cyrus. Proceeds from the song are going to cancer research at a children's hospital in her home state of Tennessee. Its governor declared today Dolly Parton Day to honor the music legend. On Instagram, Parton shared her birthday cake, a butterfly adorned with flowers, though she probably could have settled for a slightly smaller candle. That is Global National for this Monday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Your Canada is St. Adolphe, Manitoba. We would love to see your Canada. Please email it to globalnational@globalnews.ca. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.